Gaby. Gaby Jordan is her name. She is the CEO of Source Elements Group, and she's the founder of Human Better EDU. She's dedicated to empowering executives and teams to achieve exponential results through aligned cultures. Okay. She's a culture expert. With over 25 years of experience, she's coached leaders in major companies, led educational programs globally in over 80 institutions, from MIT to Stanford to London School of Economics. Now, her passion for education stems from her own journey, being the first in her family to attend college and then law school. Her unique approach brings transformative tools to both the corporate world and education. She lives in New York City with her husband, where as singers, they enjoy music together, which I think the singers part is that extra little bit of something. So welcome to the stage, Gaby Jordan. Hello, Gaby. How are you today?
I'm excellent. Thank you. Really, really good. Thanks for having me. Delighted to be here.
I am so excited for our conversation and for really the dialogue on leadership, as I know this is an area that you've really committed your life's work to.
It's
Um,
true.
right?
Mhm.
And there's so much that you can share from a leadership perspective. I know, because we were talking about living out love fabulously in our work. I'm curious, what do you think love has to do with the workplace?
All of it. All of it. Okay. So, first of all, I loved hearing Sally because a lot of what Sally does resonates with what I do. And it stems all at the heart. So when you say love, it really, from my perspective, it's the heart. So we talk about congruence, which is the alignment of the head, the heart, and your actions, right? But it really starts from the heart, because your vision, your design, your creation, the inspiration comes from the heart. And then that is as a leading guideline, a North Star, if you will. But then beyond that, the heart is important for connectivity of a team. And therefore, you can, you could do it robotically. Many people do, but that doesn't get you the best results. And so that's why I could go on, but that's why love is so important in the context of your work, your life, because it really does fuel you, it inspires you to create something.
It's so funny because we don't have these conversations very often, certainly in our education process. I don't know about you, but we didn't really talk about this at my Kellogg MBA. We really didn't, right? It was a very, very, do this, do that, get this, get that, right? And you had a
Mhm,
plan for leading.
mhm,
And we didn't have a lot of conversation about heart and
mm,
intention,
mm,
right? Yes, we talk about
mhm.
production and not love.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
and people are things more than they are beings, right? I'm so excited to think about how this is really a game changer
Yes.
for many
Yes.
leaders that don't
It's
think.
true.
They think, man, I'm gonna get this person their health insurance. I'm selling you health
Mm,
insurance because that's my
mhm,
personal business, and they're not
mhm,
thinking about intention, heart at
mhm.
all, right?
And what health insurance provides, like peace of mind, right? Which all is about thinking beyond the actual thing. And I love when you said at the Kellogg School, because when we were teaching at MIT early on so we started at MIT in 2006, okay?
Yeah.
About a year into it, we were joined, because at the time we didn't think to ask people where they were coming from. We were joined by a bunch of Sloan fellows from the business school. And at the end of our 3-day program, they said, listen, we think we actually need what you're offering as part of our business school education. And we're like, sure, we'll come to you. And so we taught for the year there. And then at the end of the year, the director of the program said, so I hear you've been helping some of our graduates. Would you like to offer it to the whole? Because it's just such a critical component of having people develop as leaders to be conscious of intention, agency, obstacles, all of the things that get in their way that, people have, I don't want to say disparagingly, but called the soft skills, which really fuel the success of an endeavor and a
Yeah.
life.
And I will make this comment if it's helpful. I'm curious, Gaby, how you've seen this play out. So I've felt at times like you are the sole keeper of this sort of conscious leadership, right? So you may be the person on your leadership team at your business, or you might be the professional in your group of 5 that are working, right? Or you may be the entrepreneur in the other 4, or that you're working with a particular client, and you're loving people, meaning you're consciously kind of in that space, and the others around you aren't,
Mm.
right? The others around you aren't, and you have to kind of consistently believe that what you're doing is what will actually move your teams. It plays out, but it's like almost like a game of one of these is not like the others, and that's okay.
As Sally said, it really brings to the heart, the kernel of inspiration in the team. So I'll say it from that perspective. And yes, you have to keep being true to yourself, right? And that's where you're coming from. Now, there are ways, and so when we coach people individually, there are ways that if they don't necessarily connect with people, that you can start to connect with them by exploring what they care about, what they're interested in, what they want to have happen, right?
Yeah.
All of that is also coming from the heart, right? And it's actually warming in them up that in a way that's disarming, that they might not notice, because it's in service of who are we as a team. We were coaching a very large company, and we did one of our signature programs, building championship teams. And this company had they were 25% behind. It was 4 months, and they had to produce their results, and it was a $2 billion company. Okay. And the leaders, they were all great people, but they were disconnected. They were in silos. They were all doing their own thing. As soon as we brought heart, you might say love, and just connection with one another, the results soared, and they actually made that 25% increase in 4 months on a $2 billion company. And so you can say that that is from actually caring. And it's not like we were working on their sales, you understand? So it's like when you bring that kind of caring and compassion to the workplace, and it's not like they were gushing. I mean, I don't want to say they were all
Yeah.
engineer types, but there could have been a few of them like that. But I joke, but that was really something that moved the needle in terms of what happened. So that's just a real life example of bringing that and what's possible.
Totally. Connection is everything, right? And what's so crazy is that you may feel like if you're not connected to your client, so if you're a solopreneur, you're not connected to your client, it's not going to work out, right? Like you don't have the connection. That's not happening. The same thing is true in the workplace, but what's so weird, if you get into a large workspace, is you get in this microcosm. Like you're a whole entity out there in the world trying to create connection, but inside you're like, oh, the sales team doesn't like marketing, engineers don't like the product team, and literally it's sabotage. Total sabotage. So tell us, Gaby, a little bit what you do, what you create in the world, so people can understand best what you create, and also what do you recommend for someone who's thinking about leadership from that perspective of what you create in the world?
Okay, so 2 separate things, right?
Yeah.
So what we are really creating, and one of the things that we really see is that, so it's all based in love, as you say. However, when you bring teams together inside of a vision and have people recognize where they can take ownership, that makes the difference. So what we say is executive teams crush results when the team dynamic moves from we to me. And sometimes people say, and I say, no, you heard me right. Why? Because it's about bringing ownership, accountability to your space. So first we have people recognize, oh, you really are the designer of your life. You really are. And there are places that you've made rock star results happen, and you're great. And then there are other places where you don't feel quite as proud of yourself. So we have people be able to identify that and say, okay, if you really were able to create what you want in that arena and you had a beautiful dream that inspired you and pulled you forward, what's in your way? And then we have people start to recognize the voices are the obstacles that interfere, like their fear, which we call the mouse, like their entitled annoyance, which we call the tantruming toddler, like the observer, like, oh, I can't do anything about it. And when they start to recognize the voices that they've had as obstacles, they then gain power over the choices that they make. Because, as I said, they really are rock stars, they really are designers. In these other areas, they've just forgotten and they've allowed themselves to be stopped. So when we have people starting to see that they have choices in the matter, they then can put in a framework that we give people to actually cause results ongoingly. And then we teach them how to communicate, how to have what I like to call champion conversations that enable resolution. Again, based on love, enable resolution, not confrontation, but building a beautiful future, building a beautiful relationship. And by giving them tools to effectuate that vision they have, we elevate what's possible for a team. And they do that together so that they really can move forward and can recognize their own foibles. That's the other thing. There are places where we ignore the fact that, yeah, we don't have that one down, like some, or said another way, there are places where we suck, okay? If you do that with a sense of humor and you do it so you acknowledge it with the team, that enables the team to recognize your humanity and then be able to rise together because you care about dealing with it.
That totally makes sense. Now, let me ask you a question in that context, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the we to me is such an interesting statement, right? It really is. So I think this is a challenge that is, I face it all the time, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you the challenge I would just naturally
Yes.
ask if I was
Sure.
working with you,
Sure.
right? So you have a vision. Let's say you're like,
Yes.
okay, we're going to sell 500 units of this because we have a
Yes.
release in May of this real new thing. We got a little marketing plan, right? And then we're going to go do this. And you got all the plans laid out for this thing, right? How do you get everyone to become the me for that we? Because I always felt like I could, the we parts, people would be like, this is us, right?
Yes.
Then you want like fire under the belly, right?
Yes.
For each of the people. Is that the me part? And how do you make sure they still function as a we, but do
Well,
me?
the me part is getting them to recognize where they can impact it, getting them to see the difference they can make and how the difference they can make functions with the difference that another entity, another team, another group makes, and then working together to cause that result. But first by recognizing their own power, their own authorship, their own designership, by recognizing that and then seeing, okay, how do I support that dream, that vision of the 500 units sold? What do we do, my team, to make that possible? So it's their own ownership inside of the greater mission.
Gotcha. And I saw Sally's comment about their ownership, right? So
Yes.
yeah, so effectively, you want a team of individuals who are always engaged, bringing
That's right.
all of their best, and then we go from there.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. And I want them, somebody can hear they're all engaged, but if they're engaged in a siloed way for their own perspective, that doesn't help the group, right? They might care about their own result, but if they don't care about the result of others and how their actions impact the others, then it has a detrimental effect. So getting them all aligned in what we are committed to and what I, as my unit, can make happen makes a difference.
Absolutely. It's like leading this event, right? Getting
It's
everyone
true.
aligned. So let me ask you, as you've consulted so many amazing institutions and individuals, what are the challenges you most commonly see that you would say, hey, as a listener, watch out for these things because I see these mistakes so often, right? As we're
Mhm.
trying to do this leadership game.
Mhm. Yes. So one of the things is I see that people get stopped by what they don't think that they can do, that they don't think they can make a difference, that they don't think that conversation is going to make a difference, that they look at what's happened in the past and say, oh, because of what happened in the past, I can't do anything in the future. And so one of the big things we do is help people overcome obstacles to past experiences, personally and professionally. So when we work with teams, we work both personally and professionally because we recognize that you are a whole person and somebody has something happen in their personal life, it impacts them in work and vice versa. So by giving them these tools for agency to overcome the things that they think that they can't, that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because I call this the realm of possibility, right? So yet people consistently go, that's not possible, or they don't even think that far, right? They're
Mhm.
almost in the weeds of, I need to get these 7 things done today so I can get this thing done so that Molly, my manager, will leave me alone, right? So that I can meet what's expected. And it's almost like I'm just punching in. And that sounds
Yes,
crazy, but at every level of an organization, that mentality can creep
yes,
in, right?
yes.
As
Which
opposed
is a
to,
certain resignation, right?
yeah,
And
yes,
so, which is not great for the person who's doing that either. They don't
no,
feel great about what they're doing. They don't feel
no.
great about their job. And that's unfortunate for them, right? And so, as a manager, you want to see what do they care? What would inspire them to actually care and cause, support of the team?
Yeah. How do you capture that when you go into a team?
First off, we have people recognize each other as human beings. And so we'll ask questions to have them share about themselves, something that's unexpected, something they might not talk about normally, something that helped them form who they are. That makes a difference in having people see each other as human beings. And that is not typically the way that we function in business. And people don't assume that they have that kind of permission. But that's the very beginning of having a team start to go to work, is having them recognize their own humanity.
I can see that. I um I also, if it's helpful, I'll say that I have often, and I'm sure you do this somewhere. So in your process, I've often found that like all the solutions are in the team, right? And you're like, and everyone's upset and annoyed. And because no one believes in possibility, no one believes that anyone's going to listen to them, right? You have a whole business unit that's just suffering. And this can be in your own business. So I'm looking here at DOS, your own business, right? Any business, you realize everyone's pains would be solutions, and everyone knows the solutions. They're just not often given a room to say, hey, you know what? This isn't working, this isn't working, this isn't working, this isn't working, right?
Yes.
And then,
Yes.
okay, well, yeah, but let's fix it. What would you do? And then it's like, well, we would do this, we would, oh my gosh, they're all here.
So I saw the recently the new Kerry Washington movie about 8886. And one of the scenes that was so brilliant was they're recognizing that what they were doing wasn't working and asking people on the team. Right. So just for context, for people who don't know, they were solving a huge problem that happened during the war because soldiers couldn't get their mail. And this was the only Black unit that was, deployed to Europe. And this was a major problem. And they were given like no time to actually solve the problem. And then when she asked the question, what don't we see? And people said, oh, well, I have this experience and I have this experience, and maybe we need to. All of a sudden, that teamwork drove them together to success. And it was a beautiful example of what you're saying, because that problem was not had not been solved by the many, you know, white males who had tried to solve it before. And you had this team of Afro-American women in there really causing a different result. And it was because of that question, which caused people to get out of their normal follow the rules and be creative in what they could see to fix the puzzle.
I can't help but jump on this. What's so interesting about that is that you come to learn that because each of us has our unique positions in humanity with our unique wounds, that we have unique strengths, right? So the point you're bringing up, right, the diversity in our teams, it can be also diversity in personality. Like the
Yes.
quietest person
Yes.
might have the most brilliant idea. They just don't
Yes.
talk.
Right. That's right. That's right. And it's a bit of what I mean, back to Sally again, that saying they don't feel like they have permission, right? And so one of the things that's sometimes important is to make sure that people know they have permission and their contribution is wanted and needed.
Yeah, I called it educing, pulling it out.
Mhm.
So it's a small thing, but it's super important. If you're leading a team and there's someone who's quiet and they're quiet, you always ask them to talk. And
Yes.
it's the fastest way to just, what are your thoughts, right? How would
Yes.
you solve this? Almost like you have to go fish it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Especially if you're a dominant like I am. I tend to dominate a conversation. So you got to make sure they're talking more than me.
Yes. And then it's also the people who do have that strength owning that, right? I can show up this way, and that's not my intention. My intention is to have a contribution, is to have everybody participate. So please interrupt me respectfully, but let me know. And because I want all of it, because we are all stronger together.
Absolutely. How do you see that with clients? So if we take this to a position of you working directly with one-on-one with someone,
Yes.
how do you see this playing out in terms of the me and the we?
As I said, when you get people recognizing their own power and their own ownership, and that they've made things happen, I first have them dispel the excuses that they use that interrupt what they want to do. Because
Mhm.
one of the things is you get people into a pattern of trusting themselves, having, the congruence, as I say, or the integrity of, they say they're going to do something, they do it, they make it happen on a small issue, makes a huge difference in what they see in terms of their power elsewhere. And then, so, if I'm coaching an individual who's leading a team, having them look at what exists in the team that they would like to impact or that needs addressing. And so, for example, you have your quiet person who's a great contributor, but may not speak out loud. Now, by the way, sometimes you ask somebody to do that and they can't, so then finding ways that it works for them to contribute, even if it's not in that moment, right? It sort of depends what level they are on the team and what sort of comfort they feel that they have. But it's having people, I actually have people go solicit information, solicit support, solicit contribution to do that. That's one way that I would do
That
that.
makes sense. Tell me this, as listeners now who want to take advantage of your free gift, tell us about your free gift.
Okay.
And tell us how they can work with you and think of you as they may consider engaging with you after this.
Right. So my free gift is actual practical strategies to accelerate your team's success. And what it has to do with is different ways that you can engage your team to enable them to be a team. Okay. And then the VIPs also, I've offered to VIPs who are in the group, an opportunity to actually have a 30-minute session with me as well. But how people can work with me individually, you can contact me. There's if you look at my free gift, you'll be able to sign up. And then get in touch with me, but I'm Gaby at sourceelementsgroup.com. You can reach me that way. And I work with people both one-on-one, particularly for leaders, leading teams, but even individual contributors, right? We do everything from Microsoft to Warner Records to a 3-person restaurant in Brooklyn. So, agnostic in that way. But it really is, if they care about their team, if they care about producing results, if they're willing to look at themselves, because it really does start with it starts with the individual. It starts with the individual to make a difference in the team.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you for that
You're
gift.
so welcome.
Thank you for both gifts, because at the VIP level, I know they'll get some time with you.
Yes.
And again, Gaby Jordan, really, really great on building cultures and teams and helping you navigate towards success. So